Data types. These are three things which we are going to discuss. Key terms जो है हमारे पास data type, identifier or record. So record is a data type as well. Okay, so record is a data type as well. So let me revise. A data type is a classification attributed to an item of the data which determines the type of values it can take and how it can be used. Identifier is a unique name that is given to one item of the data. And then record. What is record? It's a composite data type, means it is made up of different data types comprising of several related items that may be of different data types. So as I told you that if it is one student, then the ID, the name, the class, the fee, the date of birth, all these are different data types, but they are put together to form a record for one single student. So this is called record data type. How it is and how it works, we will discuss later. So any computer system that is reusable. Reusable means that when you write a program, you can use that program several times. So that is said to be reusable. So whatever the module, the program, the code that you write, you may, from programming perspective, if there is a function, you may call that function several times. So what actually has happened that that function is written only once and it is being reused several times. From user's point of view, a program that can be reused several times. So for example, Microsoft Word or this Zoom, we reuse daily. So that is reusability. So any computer system that is reusable needs to store data in a structured way so that it can be reused in the future. One of the most powerful tools in computer science is the ability to search large amount of data and obtain results very quickly, and that would never be possible if you would actually not keep the data in particularly described data structures. So this particular chapter 10, introduces data structures that enable effective and efficient computer-based storage and searching of the data to take place. So अब हम आ जाते हैं data types पर. So data types allow programming languages to provide different classifications for items of data. So let's say we are actually finding out what are the data types. And let's say that apparently we have got two classifications. Let's say number based and non-number based. And non-number based. Okay, hold on for a moment. All right. So in number based, we have got those numbers which are representing integers. Now, if these are integers, you know that these are either signed integer or these are unsigned integers. Okay. And then we have got real numbers. Okay, so real numbers, and then thirdly we have got currency. Okay, so mind it, these three are the data types which are number based. So number itself is not a data type, it's just a category. So what are the data types? Currency. Okay, currency data type. Signed integers, unsigned integers, we all know about it now. And then we have got real numbers. So integers are whole numbers, real numbers are decimal numbers. Okay. Now there are technical names associated to these data types. Okay. Signed numbers, for our syllabus sake, are actually 2's complement. Unsigned numbers, we will call them integer. Okay, currency, those are currency, but currency is saved in BCD data format. Real are real, and they will be taken as a floating point. So technically, currency is BCD. Signed integers are 2's complement, and unsigned integers will be called integer. Whereas real numbers are floating point. Floating point is actually A2's topic. So this is a separate topic which actually describes that how system saves numbers with decimal values. Okay, we will look into it later. And then computer has a way to save them. Pre-decided size of the file. Oh, sorry, data type. Pre-decided size of the data type. So BCD will be saved in 8 bytes. Signed numbers will be saved, signed integers will be saved in 4 bytes. Unsigned will also be saved in 4 bytes. And real numbers will also be saved in 4 bytes. Now you have to mind it. This is absolutely necessary. Okay. So if it is your school monthly fee, where would you place it? It is currency data type. So when it is being saved in BCD format. So in how many bytes? 8 bytes. You have to remember this. Similarly, if it is signed numbers, it means it is being taken as 4 bytes. So every single signed integer that you save, no matter if it is just 0 or 1 or 100,000, every time when you save it, it is not just completing a byte, it is completing 4 bytes. And we have no control over it. Every computer language would have its own way of doing it. All right. So all we can do is to choose among the available data types. When you choose a data type, the size of the data type is fixed. You cannot do much about it. Okay, now non-numbers. First of all, in non-numbers are those, now listen to me carefully, that everything which is being saved is in binary form. If it is in binary form, it is number. All right, so non-number data types are non-number data types in a way that when we humans represent them, we do not represent them purely in numbers. We rather represent them as, if it is my name, Zafar, I'm not representing it using any 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Rather, I'm just writing Zafar. So it is computer's duty to turn that Z into a number and then to binary and then save it. And when I recall it, when I read it back, so then that binary will be converted to Z, and then it will be, first it will be converted to denary, and then it will be converted to Z, and then I will have a look at it. So I will be looking at it like I have saved my name, I have retrieved my name, but underneath what is happening, you need to understand that as well. So if it is non-number, we have got character data type. Okay, character data type. And then we have got text data type. Then we have got date and time data type. Then we have got Boolean data type. You may know of other data types as well, but the thing is that for your syllabus, this much is, I think, enough. Okay, so technically, this character is called char. Okay, C-H-A-R. This text is called a string. This text is called a string. Date and time is called date and time. And Boolean is called Boolean. Okay. And character takes 1 byte. Date and time takes 8 byte. And then we have got Boolean that takes 1 byte. Okay. So this is again sometimes controversial that few of the data types, they say it take different amount of bits than what I have just shown over here, but we generalize it. So there is actually gunjaish for this. So whatever that we are studying now, you will be remembering this. Okay. So how many data types we are dealing with? Currency, signed integers, unsigned integers, real numbers, characters, text, date, and Boolean. So for text, I did not mention how many bytes. So the rule is simple. It is as many bytes as required. So there is no prescribed, predefined size. Okay. So when you create a variable of text, yeah, string data type, basically what happens that system has an upper limit of 256 characters. But it does not mean that if I'm saving my name Zafar, just 5 characters, so it means that it would be Zafar with 5 characters and then 251 spaces. No, only 5 characters will be saved. But if I'm going to put a long text, then I won't be able to go beyond 256. But this is not the case with other data types. So if the integer, signed integer or unsigned integer is of 4 bytes and I'm saving a single bit, it will still be saving all 32 bits. 4 byte means 8 fours are 32. So in text, it would be flexible. In all other data types, whatever the predefined size is, that size is fixed. So no matter you save a short number or long number, still it will be taking good amount of data. All right, so mind this please. Now, there comes a point where you have to actually decide on a computer language that we will learn this year. You see, your syllabus expects you, AS syllabus, I'm talking about AS syllabus, expect you to be good with the programming, and do not please relate this programming with the O-level programming. O-level programming to this programming is unborn baby, not even the full baby. O-level programming is so little, so unworthy of AS level that we do not even consider it as that you would have learned anything. Okay, so the idea of it would definitely be working, but implementation of it, no grounds. O-level programming has no grounds for AS or A2 level programming. This year, what you will learn will actually help you throughout the time you will be learning computer science, no matter in bachelor's or A2s or even at master's level. And this will be more professional, more technical, more in depth in A2 level. So CIE expects you to know the pseudocode thoroughly, and most of the questions in AS paper 2 will appear for pseudocode. But this pseudocode is not as the pseudocode you would have studied in O level that can be even retained. रट्टा लगा सकते हैं आप, ऐसा कोई सीन नहीं है. Here you would have to practice all the codes using a language, and then we will like ourselves to be able to write the code both in language and pseudocode. So for AS, we are going to adapt Visual Basic.NET, and for A2, we are going to adapt Python. Okay. Why Visual Basic at AS level and why Python at A2 level? Visual Basic because CIE expects you to write the answer in pseudocode mostly for this new syllabus. Otherwise, you would have to, in previous syllabuses, you would have to write the code in programming languages as well. But they have eliminated this, and now it will be pseudocode heavy. But every single code that you will write would actually be practiced. So pseudocode cannot be practiced directly over the computer. We would have to adapt a language to turn that pseudocode to a language form, and then we write it. So the thing is that since the emphasis from the CIE is over the pseudocode, we have to have a language which is closer to pseudocode so that we do not get indulged in the conflict or differences of the language from the pseudocode and that language. So Visual Basic.NET is actually 99% same as the pseudocode. So we will be taking this Visual Basic for AS. As far as A2 is concerned, it is more in depth, more technical, more towards this university level study. So we will be taking Python because in university either you will be taking C++ or Python. Unfortunately, C++ is not prescribed in A level, but the Python. So Python is the world's most used language. Every artificial intelligence based application and many of the platforms that you see over internet, they all are written in Python. So we will be studying Python in A2s. Your current A2s at a school now are studying Python and Python related codes. So in AS, we will be adapting Visual Basic.NET, and in A2, we will be using Python, inshallah. So now you have to understand that as in your syllabus here, you can see that they have said that select and use appropriate data types for a problem solution, including integer, real, character, string, Boolean, date. And in pseudocode, we'll use the following data types: integer, real, char, string, Boolean, date, array, and file. So mind it, files are in actual terms file. When you will save the data, that data will go to a file, and if you are out of the program, still that file would exist, so that when you rerun the program, that file could be read and further data could be added to it, or the data previously saved data could be searched as in Microsoft Word file or Excel file. And arrays, you might have an idea of arrays from the O level and all. So mind it. So integer, real, string, Boolean, date, and in pseudocode we would have integer. And you see in pseudocode it is in caps, and it is in the language code it is in small. So it really does not matter. So you would have to learn that what is called what in pseudocode and in Visual Basic. So if it is pseudocode, and if it is in Visual Basic. So in pseudocode, if it is currency, in Visual Basic, it is called decimal. This is irony that it is called decimal, but in Visual Basic, we call currency data format as decimal. Okay, integer, either it is signed or unsigned. In Visual Basic, we still call it integer. So if it is Boolean, in pseudocode it is Boolean. In Visual Basic it is Boolean as well. If it is character, in pseudocode it is character. In Visual Basic it is character as well. If it is date, in pseudocode, in Visual Basic it is date as well. Okay, if it is real data type, in pseudocode, in Visual Basic it is single. Okay, if it is real data type, in pseudocode, Visual Basic it would become single. And then if it is text data type or string data type, in pseudocode it is a string. In pseudocode we may call it text, but in Visual Basic it will be a string data type. And internally ये सब कुछ किस तरीके से सेव होता है. हम वापस आ जाते हैं डेटा टाइप्स के ऊपर. तो करेंसी तो BCD में सेव होती है. We have already learned it, that how BCD works. Signed integer, how they are saved in binary form, we know about it, that we have the most significant bits worth in negative form and the rest are in positive. Unsigned integer, this is basically 1 to 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, the way we used to do it in O levels. This would be unsigned integers. And how real numbers are actually saved, it is floating point and it is a complete topic of A2. So you would know about it. So let me tell you in short that the number is actually being saved in its standard form. For example, 20,000 can be saved as 2 into 10 to power 4. That is 20,000. So if it is in standard form, then 2 into 10 to power 4, that is 20,000. And if it is normal, then you can write 240,000. All right. So that is in standard form. So how it actually being converted to its standard form and then saved in binary, we will learn it in A2s. As far as character is concerned, I will teach you text, and you might have studied it in O levels, that every single character that can be typed and seen over the screen, typed through the keyboard and seen over the screen, has an associated number with it. For example, if it is capital A, it is 65, and if it is small a, it is 97. And then when you press, let's say, capital A, your keyboard generates 65. Then that 65 travels to computer from the keyboard and then computer saves it to the variable. But when you will look back at it, that binary form of 65 will be retrieved from the disk or the memory, and then system will check. By saying system, I mean operating system. Operating system will check that what this particular number is associated to. It means which shape this is representing, and then that shape is picked up and shown over the screen, and we call it a character. So when we put several characters together, it forms a string. So what is a string? If it is Zafar, then it means that it is 122 for Z, 65 for A, I don't know what number is for F, then A, then R. So every associated character number, which we actually call ASCII, is saved. So if it is single character, single ASCII saved, and if these are multiple characters, then multiple ASCIIs are saved. But since it is a string, like we have got to pray, we have got strings of beats. Similarly, these are the strings of characters. As far as date and time is concerned, date and time are not saved the way we treat date and time. Rather, they are saved in terms of numbers of seconds since inception. So what computer does, if you would have ever noticed, if you go to your computer setting and you want a date in DDMMYY format or YYMMDD format or MMDDYY format or the whole written format, 22 September 2019, it can also be represented. So means the computer gives you this flexibility of showing the date and time the way you like it. How come that flexibility occurs if it is a single number? If it is the date the way you saved it? No, date is not saved the way we actually look at it. Date is saved as in the number of seconds since inception. So what basically happens when you enter the date, system calculates the number of seconds from the start and saves it. And your system clock is also ticking, but it is not actually showing the time the way it is saving. It is showing the time the way you understand it, but it is saving it in terms of seconds. So these are so many seconds. So if you like to see this number of seconds in a particular format system, what system does? It makes from second, it's make minutes, from minutes it makes hours, from hours it makes days, from days it makes weeks, from weeks it makes months, from months it makes year, and from year it makes centuries, and whatever the format that you would like it to show, it shows it. So basically when we have a data type date, you might have noticed that I said that it saves in 8 bytes. 8 bytes is a big number. This is 64 bits. 2 to power 64 is a big number. All right, so that many seconds are actually saved. That is why the size of the date and time is big, very big. It is 64 bits saved for every single date and time. And do not think that time is separate or date is separate. It is basically just seconds. From these seconds, system come up with hours, minutes, and whatever, days, and then dates and months and years and centuries, whatever. So that is how the date is being saved. As far as Boolean is concerned, the Boolean data type implies only the situations which are two: black and white, true and false, on and off, yes, no, graduated, yes, no, married, yes, no. So the situation is saved or unsaved. Situations where there are just two conditions, we use Boolean. Now, why do we call it Boolean? It is actually based on an algebra called Boolean algebra made by George Boole. George Boole was a scientist who gave us the mathematics which rule the computer science. That is the Boolean algebra. You would have to study Boolean algebra in detail in A2s, and we would have a touch of it when we will be studying logic gates. Okay? The Boolean is named after George Boole, which implies that we would have only two things to save, either true or false. Whether you call it black and white, whether you call it yes or no, whether you call it true or false, you call it 0 or 1, it is implying just one thing, whether it is or it is not. So for that, all we have to save is just one bit. All right, but we know that computer cannot save lesser than a byte. If we would have to save just Boolean, all we need is just one bit, but computer doesn't save one bit, so we have to have a single byte. So Boolean takes a byte, although we are just manipulating just a single bit, which is the least significant bit. So if it is true, it is 0, and if it is false, it is 1, or vice versa. We will look into it because that is again a controversial point, whether 0 represents 2 or 1 represents 2. We will look with the relation of the language we will be using. In pseudocode, they do not care whether you are using 0 or 1, they just care that you have written true or false. Okay, so we will have an idea of it. I hope that this data type thing is now clear to you. What at max what you are expected, you will be given the names of the fields, name. So you would have to say that yes, name is a string. Age, integer, if it is not mentioned in years and months. My percentage, that is real number. Monthly fee, okay, this is currency. And then grade, that is a character. Address, that is text. Telephone number, now that is quite interesting. This thing intrigues me a lot. See, all those numbers which are not meant for mathematical calculation, all those numbers which are not meant for mathematical calculation, जिनका purpose mathematical calculation बिल्कुल नहीं होता, identification होता है. मेरा शनाख्ती कार्ड नंबर है 42501 255 digit. So that is not a number. मेरे अम्मा और अब्बा का शनाख्ती कार्ड नंबर आप ऐड करेंगे तो मेरा नंबर नहीं बन जाएगा. या आप एक चॉकलेट परचेस करें और चॉकलेट केक परचेस करें और उन दोनों को, मतलब एक केक परचेस करें और उन दोनों के नंबर को ऐड कर दें तो वो चॉकलेट केक का बारकोड नंबर नहीं बन जाएगा. Do you get it? So if you purchase a chocolate separately and cake separately and you add those two numbers of the barcode, it won't be showing any barcode of the chocolate cake. So by having these telephone numbers, barcode numbers, C and IC numbers, your ERP numbers, we never meant to have any mathematical operations. So all those numbers which are not meant for any mathematical operations are saved as string rather than integer. Mind it, you will be tried in exam for this as well. Yeah. So that's about it for today. So I introduced what? Data types. So these data types are actually a way for computer to know. Let's say I have got 3 copies. One copy I use for O level, the other one I use for AS, the third one is for A2. So when I am teaching O levels, I take out copy of O levels, and when I'm teaching A2, I'll be taking out the copy of A2s. So that actually makes me understand that what I have to fetch and what I have to deal with. If I put everything in the single copy and page by page, it is a different topic from a different level. I won't be able to keep that copy for long. So what computer does, when you save a data with a particular data type, computer know that how to deal with that particular data type, because at the end computer would have all in zeros and one. And when if it is with zeros and one, as at the start of this lecture, I told you that you might be given a single byte and you will be asked that read that byte as integer, read that byte as 1's complement, read that byte as BCD, read that byte as 2's complement, read that byte as hex. So that is the same byte, it is being read differently. So similarly, all data types, when they are converted in binary form, they are the same. So how would computer know that what was saved in this variable or what was saved in that variable? So that for that, being programmer, you have to first declare that this variable that I'm making by the name of, let's say, A is an integer. So whatever that will be assigned to that A, computer will then guard it, that whatever is being assigned should be an integer, not a name, not a Boolean value, not a date. So system will generate error. Hey, you created this variable as integer, and what you are assigning it string. That is wrong. That is an error. So please just assign. So computer keeps track of the data, but for that you have to tell computer that what sort of data you are going to assign. So as programmer, this is your duty to understand that what sort of data will be assigned to that variable, so that when you create that variable, you create that variable of that particular data type. In A2s, you will be creating your own data types as well. Okay,